US reporter Stephen Edgington in a second now. Stephen, what is the mood music like there? I know you're going to be all over the American social media. You're plugged into it in a way that I can only dream of being from our Paddington studio here. You heard it from the US Attorney Lisa Bloom. Look, this isn't rigged. This is cast iron. He's guilty. He's got what he deserves. He's had the best legal representation a man could buy. As we watch his motorcade pull away now, he is now a criminal.
Absolutely. He is technically a criminal under the law. He still has a right to an appeal, of course, which I think is highly likely that he will do. Obviously, on Twitter and social media, it's going absolutely crazy. You're right to mention that. Republicans are absolutely furious with what's happened today. They absolutely see it as a political prosecution of a presidential candidate. Again, completely unprecedented in American history. If this was happening in any other country around the world, where a presidential candidate or a leading candidate for a major election in a Western democracy, I think the Americans would see this as being a sort of a violation of democratic processes. Now, obviously, on the other side, the Democrats say this was completely fair. This was a fair trial. No one is above the law. President Trump absolutely deserves to be convicted today. But I think that ahead of November, this is only going to sort of inject a huge amount of energy into the campaign on both sides. I think there's absolutely shock and awe at the moment, people reacting in the United States, particularly the Republicans, to, one of their heroes. Trump has such a big reputation here. His MAGA supporters absolutely love him. And for them to see him be convicted in this way, be persecuted in this way, they are absolutely furious.
I'm just checking with interest how certain big American news corporations like CNN are reporting this. They've immediately got the words fact check in big, bold letters here. Trump repeats baseless claim about the Biden administration and the hush money case. He says there is no basis for Trump's claim. There is no evidence that President Joe Biden or his administration had any role in launching or running Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's prosecution. However, Bragg is a Democrat, isn't he? And so when you look at it like that, it's very hard to say that there is no political motivation for this.
I think that there is a very strong argument that the Democrats are going after Trump using what's known as lawfare. They're using the law to go after a presidential candidate. And as you say, rightly, Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor, is a Democrat. The politicians in New York are Democrats. You even had Democrat prosecutors running for election saying that I will prosecute Trump. I will send him to prison if you vote for me as your prosecutor. Now, British viewers have to remember that there are elections for district attorneys and so on in the United States. It's a very different system to what we have in the UK. So I think Trump and his supporters do actually have quite a strong case to say this is politically motivated. Some Democrats have been quite open with this, saying, look, if you vote for me, I will take down Trump. Now, whether this is connected personally with President Biden, I think that's another matter. Does he really need to be talking with the Manhattan District Attorney or with politicians and prosecutors in New York? I think they already hate Trump enough for them to do this without President Biden's direction. So whether President Biden is directly involved in this, I think is something else.
OK, now, look, we have heard now from the Biden camp. So it started with a tweet. They said, there's only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box. So we have a similarity here between former President Trump and current President Joe Biden. They know they are both going to be contesting this presidential election on November the 5th. The Biden campaign are insisting you have to vote this guy away from office, right? There is now a statement as well. So Biden's campaign released a statement in the wake of this verdict. Their main takeaway is that it shows that nobody is above the law. It says Donald Trump has always mistakenly believed that he would never face the consequences for breaking the law for his own personal gain. But today's verdict does not change the fact that American people face a simple reality. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box. Convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president. The threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. Look, he faces other issues, though, Stephen, doesn't he? And some of those issues are about this supposed, insurrection on January the 6th. That is a very hotly contested one, isn't it? Some of those videos that came out in the wake of that did appear to show that it was slightly less of an insurrection and potentially more of a guided tour. Massive, massive consequences to it, though, in the role that he played in whipping that up. So, this could get worse for Trump. How do you see that going?
I think the problem that Trump has is in that many of these places where the trials are taking place are very, very democratic areas. So the jury pool that you're selecting from are heavily biased against him just naturally, because look at New York. Trump said in his statement outside of the court today, this was an area where he had 5% support in the general election last time. So I think Trump has a real problem here where he says that he's not getting a fair trial, who's not getting a fair jury. And I think the issue with the insurrection is a very difficult one for him. Also, the issue in Florida where he's accused of taking home these classified documents. Again, it looks like there's a lot of evidence against Trump in that case. Some Republicans are saying this is all politically motivated, of course, and he faces other charges in Georgia as well. So, look, we've got a series of problems that Trump is facing legally. Politically, I think this actually helps him. I think it looks like the Democrats are trying to take him down. It looks like he's kind of an underdog against all of these political prosecutions. So legally, he really is in trouble. This was meant to be one of the weakest cases, and yet he's been found guilty on every single count. But politically, I think this only makes him stronger.